The Empire of Regret, the ballroom of the Grandfield Hotel shimmered with crystal chandeliers and the murmur of success. Men in tailored suits and women in evening gowns moved through the crowd like pieces on a chessboard. Each conversation, a strategic play. Marcus Holloway stood near the bar, a glass of whiskey untouched in his hand. Wearing the expression he'd perfected over 2 decades, confident, controlled, untouchable. At 42, Marcus had built Innovate Solutions from a cramped apartment into a tech empire worth billions. Forbes called him a visionary. Business journals praised his ruthless efficiency. But tonight, as he accepted yet another award for innovation, the applause felt hollow. It always did. No amount of achievement could fill the cavern inside him. The one carved out 18 years ago when he made the worst decision of his life. "Mr. Holloway, they're ready for your speech," his assistant Jennifer whispered. Appearing at his elbow with her tablet and practiced smile, Marcus nodded, setting down his glass. He turned toward the stage, rehearsing the bland remarks he'd prepared about mentorship and opportunity. Then he saw her. Veronica Chen stood near the edge of the crowd. Her dark hair swept into an elegant twist, wearing an emerald dress that caught the light. She looked different, stronger somehow, with a quiet confidence that hadn't existed in the young woman he'd known. But it was unmistakably her, the woman whose heart he'd shattered, the woman he'd thought about every single day for 18 years. His chest tightened. The room seemed to tilt. Then he saw the girl beside her. She was 17, be 18, with long dark hair and Veronica's graceful posture. But the resemblance that stopped Marcus's breath was in her eyes. The same unusual gray-green he saw in the mirror every morning. Her smile, slightly crooked on the left side, was his mother's smile. The way she tilted her head while listening was a gesture he recognized from old photographs of himself. The girl laughed at something Veronica said, and the sound carried across the ballroom like an echo from another life. His daughter, the child he'd abandoned before she was even born. She was real, alive, and standing 30 feet away. "Mr. Holloway?" Jennifer's voice seemed to come from underwater. "They're waiting." Marcus couldn't move. His carefully constructed world, the empire he'd built, the reputation he'd crafted, the walls he'd erected around his guilt, all of it crumbled in an instant. He watched as the girl's name was called, Natalie Chen. She walked to the stage with easy confidence, accepting a scholarship award for innovative work in sustainable technology. The irony wasn't lost on him. His daughter was an innovator, just like him. She had his mind, his drive, his eyes. And he'd missed every moment of her becoming who she was. As Natalie spoke about her project, something involving solar energy conversion and water purification, her words were intelligent, passionate, articulate. The audience was captivated. Marcus felt pride surge through him, immediately followed by shame so profound it was physical. What right did he have to feel proud? He'd contributed nothing to this remarkable young woman except half her DNA and a lifetime of absence. When Natalie finished her speech, the room erupted in applause. She smiled, thanked the organizers, and returned to Veronica's side. Mother and daughter embraced. Marcus saw in that simple gesture everything he'd forfeited: family, connection, love that wasn't conditional on quarterly earnings. Jennifer touched his arm. "Sir, you really need to go up now." Marcus walked to the stage mechanically, delivered his speech on autopilot, and returned to the crowd. But his eyes never left Veronica and Natalie. He watched them laugh together, watched Veronica's hand rest protectively on her daughter's shoulder, watched Natalie's animated gestures as she spoke with other scholarship recipients. Then Veronica looked directly at him. Their eyes met across the crowded room. And in that moment, 18 years collapsed into nothing. Marcus saw recognition, wariness, and something else he couldn't quite identify. Not hatred somehow, that would have been easier. Instead, he saw a woman who had moved forward, who had survived, who had built something beautiful from the ruins he'd left behind. Veronica said something to Natalie, then began walking toward him. Marcus's heart hammered. Every instinct screamed at him to run, just as he had 18 years ago. But he was tired of running, tired of the emptiness. Tired of being a man who had everything except what mattered, he stood his ground and waited for his past to finally catch up with him. The woman who rebuilt. Memory hit Marcus like a physical blow as Veronica approached. Suddenly he was 24 again, standing in a cramped studio apartment in the arts district, watching a younger Veronica spin around with paint-stained hands and wild joy in her eyes. "Marcus, I got into the graduate program," she'd shouted, leaping into his arms. "Full scholarship. Can you believe it?" He'd believed it. Veronica had been extraordinary, even then talented, passionate, with an eye for beauty that transformed ordinary things into art. She saw the world differently. And for a brief, shining moment, she'd made him see it differently too. They'd met at a coffee shop where Marcus spent 8-hour days coding, surviving on caffeine and ambition. Veronica had been sketching in the corner, her concentration so complete she didn't notice her coffee going cold. When she finally looked up, their eyes had met, and Marcus felt something shift in his carefully planned universe. "You look like you're trying to solve world hunger with that laptop," she'd said, smiling. "Close. I'm trying to revolutionize cloud data storage," he'd replied. "Is that more important than world hunger?" "It could help solve world hunger, actually. Better data systems mean better resource distribution." She'd laughed, really. Laughed and invited him to see the world through an artist's eyes for one afternoon. That afternoon became every afternoon. Within 3 months, they were inseparable. Marcus coded while Veronica painted. She taught him about color theory and negative space. He explained algorithms and scalability. They were young, brilliant, and convinced they could reshape reality itself. Then came the night that changed everything. Veronica had been quiet all evening, pushing pasta around her plate at the tiny Italian restaurant they loved. Finally, she'd taken his hand, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm pregnant." Marcus had frozen. In that moment, he saw his entire future splitting into 2 diverging paths. One led to the empire he'd dreamed of building. Since childhood, the empire his father said was impossible for a kid from a working-class neighborhood. The other leads somewhere unknown, unmapped, terrifying in its uncertainty. "We'll figure it out," Veronica had said, squeezing his hand. "We're a team, right? We can do this together." But the next morning, his lead investor, Gerald Whitmore, had called him into an emergency meeting. Somehow, word had already spread. In the cutthroat world of startup funding, everything was everyone's business. "Marcus, we need to talk about your personal situation," Gerald had said, his voice cold as January. "Our board has concerns. You're asking us to invest millions in your vision, but you're about to become a father. Where's your focus going to be? On building a company or changing diapers?" "I can do both," Marcus had insisted, but even he heard the uncertainty in his voice. "No, you can't. Not at this level. Look, I like you, kid. You've got talent. But this is business. We need founders who are 100% committed. A baby. That's a distraction you can't afford right now. Neither can we." That same afternoon, Marcus's mother had called, her voice tight with worry. "Your father and I heard the news." "Marcus, honey, you're so young. You have so much potential. Don't throw your life away. We struggled for years because we had you young. I don't want that for you. This girl, she seems nice, but is she really worth sacrificing everything you've worked for?" The pressure had mounted from every direction. His co-founder threatened to quit. His mentor suggested that handling the situation responsibly meant encouraging Veronica to reconsider her options. Even his friends, well-meaning but young and stupid, had painted fatherhood as a death sentence for ambition. Marcus had spent 3 sleepless nights walking the city streets, or raging in his conscience. He loved Veronica. He truly did. But he'd also spent every day since age 12 working toward this moment, the chance to build something significant, to prove everyone who doubted him wrong, to escape the limitations of his background. On the 4th day, he'd made his choice. The wrong choice. He'd gone to Veronica's apartment, the speech rehearsed. "I can't do this. I'm not ready. The company needs me. I'm sorry, but I have to focus on this opportunity. It's now or never." Veronica had stared at him, paint still under her fingernails from the mural she'd been working on. You're choosing money over us? Over your own child. I'm choosing my future. Our child deserves a father who's successful, who can provide. Our child deserves a father who shows up. Her voice had broken then, tears streaming down her face. I don't care about your money, Marcus. I care about you. We could build a life together. I can't, he'd said, already backing toward the door, cowardice wrapping around him like armor. I'm sorry. I'll send money. For medical bills, whatever you need. But I can't be there. I can't.